Welcome. So today we're going to be talking about exactly how there's only two directions to life and how the decisions that you make are multiplied by almost tenfold in the near future. And also how you can control exactly how your outcomes are to life. Because if you can control what you do today, you'll control what happens in the future. But before we discuss that, I'd like to really clarify and drum in the point of how it's almost impossible to stay still on this earth. So the next time that you actually put something off, you'll think twice with retaining this knowledge. So if I were to show you a picture of the earth and ask you if it consistently moves on a constant motion in orbit, you would probably highly likely agree with that point based on scientific research. And in the middle here, we can see the sun, which constantly moves, and we can see the earth, which is in orbit around the sun, and that moves in orbit. So we can see that this is consistently moving. And if we were to question this, you would probably strongly agree that this is how it operates. So if we were to take a look at the earth and the moon, which gives us day and night, we can also see that the moon is in orbit around the earth. And again, if I were to ask you this, it would probably be highly likely that you would agree, based on scientific research, that this is how it operates. And I would make you right on that from the knowledge that I retain, as the moon consistently moves in orbit around the earth, and the earth consistently moves in orbit around the sun, which gives us the day and light, or day and night. And then this is an image of the solar system. So we've got all of the planets around the sun, all moving in orbit consistently around the sun. So all of these planets are moving in orbit around the sun. And if I were to ask you that, you would probably strongly agree that this is how it moves and operates. So we can see obviously that all of these planets are consistently moving, and nothing in this universe appears to be static. Everything is consistently moving on a constant orbit. So if I were to show you this picture here and show you the gentleman on the left-hand side with the red jacket and the hat, and appears to be outside of Buckingham Palace, which is a place in the UK in a location called Green Park, and Buckingham Palace is the palace where the Queen of England lives. So if I were to show you him, it would appear visually that he is static or still. And this is just the same as things that you put off in life. They appear to be static on the forefront. But what is really happening is everything, if it were broken down in this image, is constantly moving and nothing is static. So if we were to look inside of this pillar here and this doorway, his hat, his gun, his jacket, his boots, the ground, the brickwork on the wall, everything is moving. Why? Because all of this is atoms. And as you may know from back in school or science class, everything in this world is built up of atoms. Even something that appears to be very solid and hard on the forefront with a robust form, that is just the form that is taken to the naked eye. But when you break things down, and if we were to put everything in this image under a microscope, everything in the image is constantly moving. And this is exactly how atoms move. So you can see that here. So really and truly, there's only two real directions to life, isn't there? There's only forwards and backwards. Now you might say, okay, what about the in-between? Well, it's non-existent, and I'm going to prove that to you inside of this video. You may be asking yourself how and why, and the answer is all because of one thing in life, and that thing is time. That's exactly what it is. Now, whatever you do in life, it simply doesn't matter because time consistently moves against you. So it's either that you make decisions which will use time to your benefit and in your favor, or time will consistently compound against you and diminish beneath your feet or before your eyes. And this is really the whole system of how life works. And the obvious answer is time is ticking, but let's look a little deeper into exactly how this works and what I'm really trying to drive home in this video. So you initially come into this world as a small baby, and then you go through life, through the motions, and grow up and then grow old and eventually rest in peace where you pass away. And this is the same no matter what gender you are, whether you're black, white, blue, however you appear to look. These are the motions that we go through as human beings. And you can see all of the different ages here on the timeline, and then eventually where we pass away. Now, one thing that's inevitable that we all know is that we will definitely pass away. What happens within that time period will depend on where you will end up at death or future. So if we were to take a look at how time operates, we could say that on the left, we have our present time, which is you right now watching this video. And then that slowly is moving closer consistently to the time that you die. Now, for some people, they're unfortunate and die early. Others, live a long, healthy, long-lasting life, and they die later in life. But every single second and millisecond that goes by is one step closer to this point right here. And that's a guaranteed thing. So when you actually think that you're putting something off and you say, oh, I'm just going to lie in today, time still continues to tick, because time waits for no man, no woman, no being. So every time you put it off, it simply continues to tick without your consent. And this is exactly what happens throughout life. Now, every millisecond, as I mentioned, becomes the past. And we could say that being in the present is right here in this moment right now, in the middle of this timeline. And then every millisecond that goes past becomes the past. Like, for example, the last slide that you just watched is your past moment. So that is not the present anymore, because the present is now, and everything that goes by becomes the past. And everything right now is one step closer to the point that you pass away. RIP. So I really heard a good statement the other day that really drives this home, because you may be thinking exactly, what am I trying to get across in this video? What is the point that I'm making? Now, this statement says, he or she who controls the present can control the past, and he or she who controls the past can control the future. So let's get back to the slide and really drive this point home. So if we talk about present time right now, we already stated that everything in every millisecond prior to this becomes the past. So if you can control what happens right now, you can potentially control past events. And depending on what you choose or decide to do at this point will completely change your direction of the future. So if you can control right now, here, this present time, you can then control your past, and your past will then determine your future. And there's only one person and one being who can do this, and it's you. You're in full control of the steering wheel at all times of your life. You make the decisions and you get the results. And everything and everywhere in your life at the moment is a direct result of decisions that you've made. The choices you make today, we can safely say, are multiplied by almost tenfold in the future. So what you may choose to do today is multiplied in the future. And this will determine of whether you live a happy life and die a very content man or woman, or whether you die very unhappy, sad, and really thinking of whether you should have died earlier, or grateful that it's finally over. And it really does happen like this, because there is the power of compounding, which works either against you or in your favor. And that's just the process of stacking that happens through decisions that you make today, where that gives you as a new situation of then where you make a new decision that can then lead you onto a different path with more decisions. But this can be moving in a positive direction or a negative direction. But it all starts with what you choose to do today, as that will determine the past, and then that past will determine the future. So I hope this could really drive that point home, that the next time you actually decide to put something off, you'll think twice about whether you should do it or not. And that's the end of this video. So thank you for watching, and take care.